Hello and welcome to Restless Gecko Reviews. Today I am going to be looking at all of the new updates that Logitech G are now bringing us after what feels like months to a year of basically nothing apart from disappointing release, with that weird G305 substitute, whatever it was, the ugly looking thing, the battery powered thing that nobody really asked for and nobody really wanted. But yeah, so it seems like Logitech have basically saved up the last year of all of these different new products, and they've launched them all at exactly the same time. But before I get into the products that they've launched, if you'd like to give the video a like or subscribe, that'd be massively appreciated. Helps with the algorithm, all that good stuff. So getting into it, there's the obligatory Astro A50s that they've released and stuff like that, and all that very good stuff. If you're into Astros, apparently they're supposed to be quite good. If you're into that sort of Logitech audio, which I would probably recommend you stay away from, just for fidelity's sake, and also cost of performance. I think there's better options out there, including buying a DAC and just some decent IEMs. It's probably better than anything that the Astros will do for you. But anyway, so they've got this G502X Aluminium Edition, if you're interested in the G502, if you're still using that mouse. It's quite a good productivity mouse. So yeah, you can get one of these. I think there's only 502 of them are up for grabs. So that's new, I suppose. Loads of new racing stuff if you're into sim racing, all those sorts of things. New wheels. I think they did a collaboration with Momo as well, which is quite interesting. I used to work for a company that sold aftermarket parts for cars, performance cars and stuff like that. So I'm quite up to date with the sort of Momo stuff. I used to do Sabout and all sorts of different companies like that. All really interesting stuff. So if you're into your sim racing, they look like they're doing some really good stuff, to be fair. Yeah, really interesting leather covered steering wheels, a new shifter, and this is the one here, GRS shifter and handbrake, which is pretty cool. Sequential shifter that clamps onto your desk. So yeah. Anyway, they're also doing this thing as well. G309, that's the mouse I was thinking of. G309 Kamisato Ayaka Special Edition. If you're into that, if you really want that, if anybody asks for that, it's on Amazon. Wonderful. Is it pre-order? No, pre-order on Amazon. I don't think I'd want to do that. That's the Momo, so they've got an adapter now with a proper wheel boss and all that sort of stuff, which is quite cool. If you've got your own custom wheel and you want to chuck that on it. As you can see, removable shifters, multiple wheel options. That's pretty sweet. Looks really interesting, to be fair. Not really into sim racing personally. But yeah, here is the real interesting bit. They've finally caught up and they are creating their own rapid trigger keyboard. And by all accounts, if I just switch to it here, it's reasonably priced. It's cheaper than the Wooting. And the Wooting is about £190. Oh, didn't mean to go click on that. About £190, and this is like $170 or £170, I think. It has pretty much the same specs as the Wooting, 0.1mm adjustments, or is it 0.01? 0.1mm, 0.1mm increments up to 0.03 inches. Continuous repeat. So yeah, it's a rapid trigger keyboard, but from Logitech. But I'm incredibly interested to see how well this will go down, because I think that a lot of Logitech stuff, as we'll see later, their support for their devices, even their pre-existing devices, is actually really, really good, and the updates they bring out. So I'm interested to see what sort of numbers these are going to be putting up. I'm not sure on the hertz. I think it tells me later on how many hertz this keyboard is. It's wired. It's not wireless, obviously, because it's a lot of information to put across to your computer. Magnetic analog switches. The actual stems actually look pretty sturdy compared to something like the Wooting. There is a little bit of key wobble with the Wooting, so I think they've probably looked into that and probably solved that with this sort of like boxier stem. So yeah, it says there, 35 grams of force. I'm not sure what's on the standard Wooting, but obviously there's that many different switches. I don't think it's not going to be a hot swap PCB because it's an OEM piece of equipment. Just your actuation, all done on the keyboard, which is quite cool. And it's got the multi-point action exactly the same as the Wooting. Game mode as well, which you can also program with the Wooting. So to be honest with you, if you already have a Wooting, there's no point in getting this. But it's interesting to see that they've now entered sort of like the normie space, I suppose you'd call it, which is really, really good because it lets more people into the rapid trigger keyboard space. So yeah, interesting stuff from Logitech. They're a bit late to the party, I would say. A lot of people have already done it and done it really, really well. So I don't think they're going to move a lot of people, but they might capture some of like the more normie, casual players into playing with this. You got your light sync RGB, all that sort of stuff, all done through G-Hub. 3 different colours in white with a black volume dial for some reason, and then pink with a black volume dial. And if you look, the back plate is also black with this pink accent, which to me is a little bit lazy. Because personally, I would just get the black so it's all uniform. It's a mixture of aluminium and recycled ABS plastics, I think, as well. So the aluminium bit will feel a bit premium, but obviously the ABS is going to feel a little bit cheap. But interesting all the same. This is due for release in December. The other thing that's new is the much rumoured, much spoken about, much leaked Pro X Superlight 2 decks. So this is basically a G703 in Superlight form. Looks quite interesting. Not something I'm going to pick up, I don't think. And no one's going to send me one, so probably won't really look into reviewing it. But it's interesting all the same. Looks to have the same feet as the outgoing, or the current Superlight 2. But what's interesting with it is there's been a recent update. So if you update it to Windows 23H, I can't remember if it's H3 or H4. I think it might be H4 or whatever it is, or H2. Basically, there's an update for your computer that brings over 24H2 updates for AMD CPUs, but it also improves a variety of different things. And with this update, you can now update your Superlight to 8000 Hz polling. So as long as you've got that, you can get this G-Hub update essentially. But they've now updated the sensor as well. So for the decks, it's 44,000 DPI, which is ridiculous, 888 inches per second, and 88G. I think is that 88G of, can't be 88G of force, can it? 'Cause it's like 5G, 50G, I think is current standard. So 88G is quite a fair bit. But yeah, so a ridiculous update, and obviously this carries over to the Gpro Superlight 2, not just the decks. So yeah, it seems like they've waited a year for all of this and just spaffed out a load of, blown their load on all their products all in this September time. And if you remember, I think it was about a year now that they released a Superlight 2. So the Superlight 2 DeX is essentially just going to be a ergonomic version of the Superlight 2. There's not going to be a vast amount of difference between them. It's an interesting looking thing, and I'm sure it will suit a lot of people. From what I hear from some of the reviews I've seen from the Whale, just posting about it on Twitter casually, it's a much more relaxed grip style, so it is going to be something more in that G703, more relaxed ergo sort of realm. Some interesting thumb placement there as well. It cuts in quite a lot, so I imagine it'll be quite a stable grip. So yeah, it's an interesting one if you pick it up. I've seen a lot of hate for the Superlight 2 decks after people have been complaining and crying about getting a G703 update, a lighter one with better tech, and it's here, and now people are still unhappy, and I get that. I think Logitech have not done themselves any favour by waiting ages to release these things, not really doing anything, resting on their laurels, letting the Gpro sell, and a lot of people have been sort of a bit antsy, waiting for something to happen. And now it has happened. Everyone's like, oh, it's too late. But we'll see how good these are. I imagine they're going to be pretty decent. The build quality is going to be good. I don't imagine there'll be too many complaints with it. But yeah, so it's an interesting release by Logitech. Yeah, and the other thing as well is these comments about the Gpro, and it's just like, oh, there are so many better mice out there. You can get this for cheaper, this for cheaper. It's like, yeah, but this works for some people. Like, it's a bland shape. Yeah, it's a potato, but it works for a lot of people. It works for a lot of esports professionals that will run rings around you, and even if they're not using the most optimal mouse, they absolutely destroy you in any game. And obviously, because they're a pro, it's what they do all the time. But I think it's they are great mice. They are very generic. They are boring to a lot of people because they've been out for so long. They are essentially the standard in esports mice and gaming mice. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, and they're like, oh, the Ninjutso Sora is better because it's 36 or 38 grams or whatever it is. And it's a great mouse, don't get me wrong. But there's just something about this that keeps a lot of people coming back. And you'll notice on reviewers as well. Look at the mice that reviewers are using. Look at what they've got on their desk, because a lot of them keep them everywhere. They've got all their dongles plugged in, and they've got all their mice. There's always a Gpro Superlight. Why? Because it is the benchmark mouse. It's the one that you benchmark everything else against, I would say personally. And a lot of people do tend to return to it. And I think maybe the Razer Viper V3 Pro will eventually take that place, or start to catch up to it even more so than it already has. Because I mean, its representation at the moment in esports is wild, completely unprecedented. But yeah, it's a good time to be a Logitech fan at the moment, with all of these new things coming out and Vadoos to them. I don't really like that style, to be honest with you, where it protrudes so much, but we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, so if you like that update on the new Gpro range, or the new Pro range from Logitech, stay tuned for more information and more reviews. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye bye.